Putin, again, makes $130,000 a year. He's worth $200 billion. Your friend.
Yeah,
how much is he paying you to
my
suck
friend,
his...
So it's like Nancy Pelosi. And I love how you keep going to the gay route, which is hilarious.
I'm just saying you're a Putin sympathizer.
And you,
you're a Putin sympathizer.
I'm telling you right now, if
it's
CNN,
crazy.
if
you
anybody
served
on the
in the
left
U.S.
is watching,
Air Force.
don't
you
talk
served
Adam,
in the U.S. Air Force.
Adam, don't even
yet you're
try
a
that
Putin
shit.
puppet,
Adam,
Vinny.
don't talk shit about my service.
More from you.
Adam, don't go there because trust me, you're gonna regret it. Don't you sound? I'm
there
telling
it
you
is
right now.
right there. There's
CNN.
There's your lovely homeland.
If anybody
Russia,
that works for CNN or MSNBC, I would 100% give you a contract to go there.
Yeah, that'd be great. By the way, Russia TV, if you're listening, and if you could locate the 20,000 emails of the love letters that Vinny has written to Putin, he's looking for a job on RTV, Propaganda TV.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Leftist Losers Show, where we point out all of the losers of the left. And today I got a clip from the PBD Podcast where Vinny and Adam just go absolutely crazy on each other. You know, Adam usually is extremely frustrating with his bad takes, and he just decides to attack Vinny. And Vinny gets extremely passionate, as he usually does. And I think we all know and love Vinny for that very reason. It's very entertaining and also nice to see somebody who's just very convicted and convinced of their own ideas and principles, and we like to see somebody fight for what they believe. And Vinny does that time and time again on the show, and it's fun to see him just go at him. It's always entertaining. I think we all know that. So, anyways, in this clip, they get very heated and they're attacking each other over some things Bill Maher said, which Bill Maher had an absolute garbage take in his show that we will see here in a moment. So let's go ahead and jump into this clip of Adam and Vinny going at it after they criticized Bill Maher for the absolute garbage take that he had on the Bill Maher show.
Van Jones and Ann Coulter again on Bill Maher. Bill Maher wanted to know their thoughts of Tucker going to there. Right there. And by the way, Van Jones, play this clip, and I want to show you. This is the epitome of a beta male. Is this dude right here?
What do you think of Tucker? I mean, you used to be friends with him, right? I mean, going over there and
giving a lap dance to Putin.
Basically. I mean, parading himself for all these years as so pro-American, and then going around and basically saying this is the really good country, Russia, and this guy, and not bringing up any of his crimes. What is his motivation? Can you get into his head a little for me?
Well, no, no, I'm not a huge fan
of Tucker.
Jealousy,
yeah. A lot of
she's
what
jealous.
People do on both sides is motivated by seeking money and fame.
Tucker
this
wants
is
money.
The way to do it. This is how. I mean, couldn't he still be on Fox?
Look, I mean, he went over there and said, you know, Moscow is this amazing city because the trains run on time.
Right.
I'm like, isn't that what they said about it?
That's not what that interview was about. I think the reason Tucker went over to Russia and interviewed Putin was because no one in the West was willing to talk to the guy. And I think part of the reason why he didn't use a lot of, hardball questions in his interview was he's probably a little scared. I mean, we do know that Putin and his government do a lot of terrible things and that they do arrest the opposition political party and do a lot of really awful stuff that sadly our government is starting to do. If you look at the just constant prosecution of Donald Trump, we're starting to head in that direction too, which is very scary. So, but I don't think the goal of Tucker was to go over there and idolize Putin and say, oh my God, he's the greatest leader ever. I think what he was trying to do was show that, hey, Putin is a real person. He's not some like cartoon devil on a propaganda pamphlet that wants to destroy the planet while he twirls his mustache. He's another real world leader who does really evil, awful things, and that's why he's in power, just like a lot of politicians in our country and other Western countries. And he's looking out for himself mostly, and then his people, because if his people and his country thrive, him being the leader will also thrive, probably more so than them because he's in charge. And so he's going to do things that help his country out. And when we are constantly fighting him, of course we're going to be at conflict with that, right? And I think Tucker's goal was to try to humanize Putin, not in a way to get sympathy for him, but to show, hey, if we want to combat the goals and agenda of Russia, blindly attacking them might not be the best route, and maybe reaching out through diplomatic channels is a better opportunity. And I think he was trying to break that constant narrative of, oh, Russia's this third world dump that's just falling apart at every aspect and is completely garbage, and so it'll be super easy to win a war, and so you shouldn't care if we go to war with them because it'll just be so easy to crush them. But then he goes and he shows like, hey, they're a functioning country with real infrastructure, and they're not like, it's not a dump. Like, these people live relatively legitimate lives in comparison to, you know, the standards of the West. And while their government does evil, awful things, so does ours. And let me talk to Putin on camera and show you that, hey, he's not an idiot. He is a smart guy. He's not just an evil mastermind, but that he is just somebody looking out for his country. And since his country is not aligned with the West's values or goals, we're at conflict with them. I think that's all it was about. And the rest of the media is so anti-Putin, it kind of pushed Tucker in a direction to be more just like, hey, let me just interview him. And while I don't agree with some of the stuff he asked in terms of, I kind of wish it would have been more of a hardball interview, I do understand that when nobody else in the country is supporting you because all of the rest of the media hates Tucker Carlson, it'd be pretty intimidating to go over there and try to interview, you know, the leader of a country that doesn't like you, that you're actively at war with, you know, even though it's like a proxy war, and hope that he doesn't imprison you. Because if he does, most likely the rest of the media is not going to come out and defend and push for your release. They're probably just going to talk shit about you getting arrested. So I don't blame him for, you know, the easy interview for Putin. I think I don't think it's really surprising, you know?
Hitler,
Mussolini.
No, it was like
Mussolini.
Mussolini.
Yeah, okay,
You
so
history
the trains run
major.
on time, but people are being literally, you know, killed in prison
Yeah.
because they have an opinion. That's not a great country.
I
It's not
think
a
you
great
can
country.
say
It's not a great country to everybody in the world
you can
except
say that
Russians.
people are motivated by money and fame. If they were on Fox News, the Fox News that then had to pay $700 million in defamation. I would say you can read it on my Substack first, or wait for Fox to pay a $700 million defamation judgment.
By the way, Van Jones, the last time we heard of him, he was shaking and crying because Vivek, a skinny Indian guy, did a speech, and Van Jones was like, I was shaking. Okay, and for them to say that Tucker's interview let the world hear what an adversary has to say, and for them to say he's giving a lap dance, CNN is doing way more. They're having sex with Biden every single day. So for him to say that type of shit really, really drives me crazy. It drives me nuts. Now and look, and Bill Maher, like, what? Why would you go over there? We know why he went over there.
What did Colbert say? What did Colbert say?
Stephen Colbert has another Trump derangement syndrome. He was one of the, by the way, one of the biggest shills of the left. Remember him with his dancing vaccine stuff. He just had one of his TDS moments where, mind you, he's a comedian. Okay, he's had to take off his glasses, run up to the camera to all the stuff that's happening with Trump right now in New York.
Hear it.
Yeah, look at
Go
this.
ahead, Rob.
I know how numb we've become, but it's not normal. No other candidate for the presidency has ever had to pause his campaign to defend himself in multiple courts. And I would like to point out that in all 7 of his cases, no one doubts that he did these things. We're just sitting around patiently waiting to find out if the wheels of justice will grind fast enough for there to be any consequences. And the media is covering it like it's any other political story, like it's all horse race. I know.
But don't you miss Jay Leno and Johnny Carson and those late night where it's supposed to be fun and happy? That's a political activist. Like, why is he so insane? And it's happening and it's shifting. But Bill Maher, I'm tired of people going, oh, Bill Maher's leaning right. And don't get it twisted, bro. It's because Trump was gone, Biden was in. They have nothing to talk about. They have absolutely nothing to talk about. It's election year. Trump is back, and now the Trump hate train, the wheels are starting to spin, and it's only a matter of time till Bill Maher.
I think Vinny's right here, and it kind of bums me out because I kind of was in that camp where I genuinely thought people kind of like, you know, Bill Maher were slowly starting to lean, not necessarily to the right, because I think their policies are still going to be where they are. You know, I think, even though I think Bill Maher is kind of an idiot, I do think that he believes in the stuff that he says as far as his like policy ideas and what he wants for laws and regulations. I don't think that he just flip-flops on that stuff. But every now and then he'll say things that make it seem like he's seeing the light in terms of what's reality. Like he's starting to see like the real picture of what's actually going on in the world. And I would prefer people live in reality, even if they disagree on policy and what they want. Like if you're a communist, but at least you agree that what's actually going on, okay, understand. Then we can have a conversation. The problem we have right now is the world is so polarized between the so-called right, which is basically everyone who's not a Democrat or an establishment person, and then the establishment. And the establishment believes in one reality where boys can be girls and girls can be boys and like all the other crazy woke garbage stuff. and all the stuff the media lies about, and they think all that stuff's real, like Russiagate and everything. And then there's actual reality where everybody else is, and everyone in the establishment camp, that first camp, point to the people in reality, everyone else, and say, you're all far right because you believe those things, when it's just that they're looking at the world and going, oh, that's how things are. And it's just crazy. That's why we're getting to a place where like things aren't we can't reconcile our differences anymore, because when we go, hey, I want to talk about this, the other side goes, that's not real. Well, how do we even talk about that? And then when you go to prove that it's real, they go, oh, well, that stuff's all lies. There's no breaking through. Like there's no way to get past that barrier anymore. So, and it sucks because, again, like Bill Maher seemed like somebody who was finally starting to move out of the establishment camp and peek his head through the flames and come into the other, like the reality side, and be like, oh, this is how things are working. And I think, sadly, that's not the case, because every time he goes right back to his garbage takes and says things that are just wacko, crazy TDS world. And it's just, it's a bummer, because Bill Maher has influence, and it'd be nice if, even if he didn't agree with us and everybody else, at least if he knew what was real and, expressed and presented what was real to his audience, that would at least benefit the society, at least a little.
Goes back to old Bill Maher, where it's just Trump is going to start World War III. Trump is a Russian asset. Trump and all that bullshit. And I'm tired of it. And it's going to keep happening. It's going to get worse. And you're going to see it happen.
Regarding Tucker, you have to respect him for going to Russia. So for the people on the left that are like, I can't believe he's a shill. He's just a Putin
doing lap
puppet.
dances, Adam. Lap dances, they said.
He did. And Putin said it himself. Your friend, Vladimir Putin, your hero.
My friend.
Said, I was expecting a tougher interview. So,
Oh, yeah, he should have been
Vinny, can I talk? Or are you just going to keep yelling all day? Putin said it himself. I was expecting a harder interview. So, it's been lauded many times that Tucker was basically giving a softball interview, which he's done to Trump.
What would you have asked, Adam?
Why are you killing innocent people in Ukraine and invading countries? How about that?
You never would have said
Why are you killing your political opponents?
You never would have said
Why does it seem that anyone who's ever given any sort of challenge to you somehow gets poisoned? Somehow they just throw themselves. Billionaires are locked up in jail, or billionaires are just throwing themselves out of windows. All those depressed billionaires all day. How about tough questions like that? But that's not even my point with Tucker. The point with Tucker, what he missed, what he didn't understand, as much as our cities are crumbling, and that does need to be held to account, the subways in New York, do you understand when the train stations in Russia were built? Do you know when they were built? Take a wild guess, Vinny.
During Stalin?
Oh, exactly. Lucky guess. During Stalin. What was Stalin known for?
Killing people? Adam?
Yeah, exactly. So how about misappropriating and stealing all the money from the people? Because communism and socialism takes all the money and usurps it to the government, and they build these lavish train stations, and the people are starving while they build these grandiose public homages to the great communist dictatorship of Stalin. So it's no wonder why they're the most amazing train stations in the world. I don't know how Tucker didn't understand that, because all the money was misappropriated to build these grandiose homages to communism. Whereas in New York, all right, there's called public-private partnerships. It's built on capitalism. And they're like, yeah, we could improve this a little bit, but it's going to cost a lot of money. But in Russia, there's no... Putin, again, makes $130,000 a year. He's worth $200 billion. You're a friend.
Yeah,
how much is he paying you to
my
suck
friend,
his...
So it's like Nancy Pelosi. And I love how you keep going to the gay route, which is hilarious.
I'm just saying you're a Putin sympathizer.
And
you're a Putin sympathizer.
I'm telling you right now,
it's
CNN,
crazy.
If
you
anybody
served
on
in
the
the
left
U.S.
is watching,
Air Force.
Don't
you
talk
served
to Adam.
in the U.S. Air Force.
Adam, don't even try that.
This is where the argument gets really frustrating between these two, because this is like perfectly represents the entire argument between the establishment and basically, I wouldn't say MAGA, because it's not just Trump supporters, but basically anybody who sees reality, right? The people who are considered far right by the establishment. Is Putin is an evil, awful person, and I don't think anyone really disagrees with that. Yes, there are actual Putin sympathizers, but I'm not talking about those people. The people on the again, I'll just say the right to make it easy, who want to have a nuanced conversation about the situation in Ukraine and Russia, aren't having that conversation because they sympathize with Putin or want to allow him to conduct his agenda or take over Ukraine. That's not the case. The reality is, there's an understanding that, hey, Putin and his country are a actual place with people who have needs and will do things based on those needs and will do things based on their wants as well. And if we take action A, they might react with action B. And so when people start having the conversation of, well, why did they invade Ukraine? And then people bring up, well, NATO's been expanding since the 90s when they said they were going to stop, and then George Bush expanded and blah, blah, blah. And, the overthrowing of, was it Poroshenko, the Ukrainian leader from a couple of years ago, who was kind of pro both sides and played both sides. They don't bring these things up because they're trying to justify Putin's actions. The reason they bring that up is to say, hey, this is a two-way street, right? Every relationship with every country is a two-way street. We can't do all these things that put negative pressure on a country and back them into a corner and diminish their ability to conduct themselves or benefit their own society and then expect them to just take it. That's the problem, right? So people like Vinny will be like, hey, NATO's expanding, doing all these things, pushing Russia into the corner and preventing them from doing anything or trying to build themselves up. And I'm not talking about build themselves up militarily to take over, but I'm saying just to better their society. And giving them, honestly, it gives them ammunition to spread more propaganda because they can point to all the stuff NATO's doing and say to their citizens and say, hey, look, NATO's getting bigger and they want to take us over. NATO only, NATO only exists to fight us. They even said that when they created NATO in, back in the 50s. So why are they still expanding when the USSR is gone? And then their people go, yeah, that is kind of crazy. And then it makes it easier to manipulate their own people, which they would do anyways. Our government does that too. But it's just one of those things where you're not allowed to have a nuanced conversation, because the second you start trying to do that, people like Adam point and go, well, you're just a sympathizer, which is not even an argument. That's not even a freaking argument, dude. You're not arguing anything. You're just saying that guy's bad. And since you're even remotely close to justifying what he's doing, you're bad. So I don't care what you say. It's so crazy that people like that are in charge of our policy overseas, our foreign policy. It's insane that they have a say in it even. Because these are the kinds of people that lead us to war, because they say, oh, nope, Putin is not an angel, so therefore we can't do anything with them. We have to do everything in our power to destroy their country at every possible, avenue. And also we are supposedly anti-war. So even though we're forcing these people who are real people and live in a country and have to exist, or don't have to exist, but they exist, even though we're forcing them into a corner and making it hard for them to do anything, our expectation is that'll lead to peace. No, it won't. It'll lead to war. If you push somebody into a corner, steal everything else around them, and then say you can't have any of this stuff because you're a bad person and we don't agree with you, they're probably going to get desperate and try to fight. Because if you back them into a corner where they have nowhere where to go, they're probably going to just fight you because there's no other option. That's the point people try to make, is we backed Russia into a corner and continued to expand and continued to attack every bit of influence they had in the world. And I'm not saying that I think Russia should have a bunch of influence, not at all, but I don't think the way that we went about doing so worked out in our favor or anyone's favor. It's only led to war and thousands upon thousands of deaths in Ukraine. And if you're supposedly a Ukraine supporter, you shouldn't want that. Their country's gone now. And yes, that is Russia's blame for invading. But at the same time, I think we as the West have to take some, or at least have to understand that us poking the bear and pushing the bear into a corner will lead to outbursts of violence, regardless of who it is. It could be any country. If they did that to us, we would probably do the same thing. And again, I'm not saying that to say it was okay for them to do that. I'm saying maybe we should look back at what we did and say, okay, maybe we shouldn't do those things, and we should find other avenues to exert influence. Maybe we should just focus on building the United States up into such a dominant power economically that once again, like we used to be, everybody wants to come to the United States and be a part of us, which people already do. But I mean, we become such a hub and centralized power of, the economy and everything else, and technology and innovation and advancement, that it doesn't matter what the fuck Russia does or wants over there because they're so far behind. We don't innovate in the United States anymore, hardly. I guess the tech sector does, but you look at everywhere else in the United States and it's just depressed, shut down factories and crumbling infrastructure and dead towns. It's depressing. It's extremely depressing. And now we're our foreign policy is leading to nothing but wars, because the only industry that's still doing really well in the United States is the military industrial complex. And so they're just pushing for conflict everywhere that they can. They love the Ukraine war. So that's probably why people like Adam argue the way they do, especially in the government, because it leads to war. And then guess who gets rich? The military-industrial complex and all those companies. And they love it. It's great for them. And the United States isn't technically involved, right? As far as like us fighting. But we are by supplying all the weapons and making money off it, and giving them money to them buy more of our weapons and making money off of it. And then having our companies go over and buy land in Ukraine that's destroyed because they're going to rebuild it, and then they're going to make money off that when they rent it out later on after the war's over, years from now. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The rest of the world sees that too. Like, if we're supposed to be the good guys, we can't be going and doing all this evil, terrible shit to the rest of the world and then expect them to look at us as the good guys. They're going to look at us and be like, wow, those people suck. I don't want to be involved with them. And then that leads to countries like China taking over eventually. Because countries, even though China's an evil dictatorship shithole, countries are going to go, well, China sucks and they're really authoritarian and awful, but they're giving us money and stuff and they're not starting wars everywhere. So maybe we'll go over there. You know, like, we have to look ourselves in the mirror too and want to be good role models for the rest of the world. Like, that has to be the case. Otherwise, what are we doing? Right? Anyways, that's all I got for you guys for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this clip. If you did, please like and subscribe and comment down below what you guys think. Or if you hated it, tear me apart in the comments. Either way, I just appreciate the engagement, and I will see you guys in the next video.